Hello, I'm Willie from the Ozarks, and we're ready for our May the 17th lesson in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. We're reading from the original edition, lesson 137. When I am healed, I'm not healed alone. And I would bless my brothers, for I would be healed with them as they are healed with me. That's what we'll tell ourselves every hour as the hour strikes today. When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. And I would bless my brothers, for I would be healed with them as they are healed with me. And 2 times today for 10 minutes, you'll say, when I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. And I would share the healing with the world, that sickness may be banished from the mind of God's one Son, who is myself. Okay, so let's read our lesson. I've been having some difficulty uploading, so you guys, if you don't get your upload and your habit is to listen to it in the morning, be sure to go straight to your book or read it online. The A Course in Miracles Society has it all online. You can access that at jcim.net, and you can either have it read to you or you can read it yourself. So be sure to take advantage of that if you need a book. If you have a book, be sure to open it to your lesson and read every day, okay? And read at least a page out of the text is what I do, and read your lesson and do what it says for the day. When I am healed, I'm not healed alone. Today's idea remains the central thought on which salvation rests. For healing is the opposite of all the world's ideas, which dwell on sickness and on separate states. Sickness is a retreat from others and a shutting off of joining. It becomes a door that closes on a separate self and keeps it isolated and alone. Sickness is isolation, for it seems to keep oneself apart from all the rest, to suffer what the others do not feel. It gives the body final power to make the separation real and keep the mind in solitary prison, split apart and held in pieces by a solid wall of sickened flesh, which it cannot surmount. The world obeys the laws that sickness serves, but healing operates apart from them. It is impossible that anyone be healed alone. Remember that. It is impossible that anyone be healed alone. In sickness must he be apart and separate, but healing is his own decision to be one again, and to accept his self with all its parts intact and unassailed. In sickness does his self appear to be dismembered, and without the unity that gives it life. But healing is accomplished as he sees the body has no power to attack the universal oneness of God's Son. Remember, we're not a body. And the body can't attack the universal oneness of God's Son, oneness with God and all his brothers and sisters. Sickness would prove that lies must be the truth. But healing demonstrates the truth is true. The separation sickness would impose has never really happened. To be healed is merely to accept what always was the simple truth, and always will remain exactly as it has forever been. Yet eyes accustomed to illusions must be shown that what they look upon is false. So healing, never needed by the truth, must demonstrate that sickness is not real. Healing might thus be called a counter-dream, which cancels out the dream of sickness in the dream of truth, but not in truth itself. Just as forgiveness overlooks all sins that never were accomplished, healing but removes illusions that have not occurred. Wow, let's get this down. Let me read it again. Healing might thus be called a counter-dream, which cancels out the dream of sickness in the name of truth, but not in truth itself. Just as forgiveness overlooks all sins that never were accomplished, healing but removes illusions that have not occurred. I mean, you might believe you're sick, but remember, it's an illusion. And what we were wanting to do is learn to dream this counter dream of our oneness with God and start recognizing that holiness is all that is real, and begin to start seeing that in our dream of the real world that'll eventually turn into what's beyond words entirely, I think is how he says it. Just as the real world will arise to take the place of what has never been at all, healing but offers restitution for imagined states and false ideas which dreams embroider into pictures of the truth. Yet think not healing is unworthy of your function here, for Antichrist becomes more powerful than Christ to those who dream the world is real. The body seems to be more solid and more stable than the mind, and love becomes a dream while fear remains the one reality that can be seen and justified and fully understood. Just as forgiveness shines away all sin, and the real world will occupy the place of what you made, so healing must replace the fantasies of sickness, which you hold before the simple truth. When sickness has been seen to disappear, in spite of all the laws that hold it cannot but be real, then questions have been answered, and the laws can be no longer cherished nor obeyed. Healing is freedom, for it demonstrates that dreams will not prevail against the truth. Healing is shared, and by this attribute it proves that laws, unlike the ones which hold that sickness is inevitable, or are more potent than their sickly opposites. Healing is strength, for by its gentle hand is weakness overcome, and minds which were walled off within a body, free to join with other minds to be forever strong. Healing, forgiveness, and the glad exchange of all the world of sorrow for a world where sadness cannot enter are the means by which the Holy Spirit urges you to follow him. Let's listen to that again. Healing, forgiveness, and the glad exchange of the world of sorrow for a world where sadness cannot enter are the means by which the Holy Spirit urges you to follow him. So he uses healing, forgiveness, and gladness as the means to urges you to follow him. His gentle lessons teach how easily salvation can be yours, how little practice you need undertake to let his laws replace the ones you made, to hold yourself a prisoner to death. His life becomes your own as you extend the little help he asks in freeing you from everything that ever caused you pain. And as you let yourself be healed, you see all those around you, or who cross your mind, or whom you touch, or those who seem to have no contact with you, healed along with you. Perhaps you will not recognize them all, nor realize how great your offering to all the world when you let healing come to you, but you are never healed alone, and legions upon legions will receive the gift which you receive when you are healed. Those who are healed become the instruments of healing, nor does time elapse between the instant they are healed and all the grace of healing it is given them to give. What is opposed to God does not exist. What is opposed to God does not exist. And who accepts it not within his mind becomes a haven where the weary can remain to rest. For here is truth bestowed, and here are all illusions brought to truth. Would you not offer shelter to God's will? You but invite yourself to be at home, and can this invitation be refused? Ask the inevitable to occur, and you will never fail. Ask the inevitable to occur, and you will never fail. The other choice is but to ask what cannot be to be, and this cannot succeed. Today we ask that only truth will occupy our minds, that thoughts of healing will this day go forth from what is healed to what must yet be healed, aware that they will both occur as one. We will remember as the hour strikes, our function is to let our minds be healed, that we may carry healing to the world, exchanging curse for blessing, pain for joy, and separation for the peace of God. Is not a minute of the hour worth the giving to receive a gift like this? Is not a little time a small expense to offer for the gift of everything? So he wants us to take about a minute at the top of the hour. It kind of seeming like he really wants us to be kind of punctual on this. And, you know, I think we're in Earth School. And in Earth School, there's like an alarm that goes off like there is in other schools at the top of the hour. And we just want to remember when that chime goes off in our Earth School classroom, that we tell ourselves, when I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. And give it a minute to think about. Yet must we be prepared for such a gift. And so we will begin the day with this and give 10 minutes to those thoughts, with which we will conclude today at night as well. And we're going to tell ourselves this before that 10-minute in the morning and of the evening. When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. And I would share my healing with the world, that sickness may be banned from the mind of God's one Son, who is my only self. Again, when I am healed, I'm not healed alone. And I would share my healing with the world, that sickness may be banished from the mind of God's one Son, who is my only self. Let healing be through you this very day, and as you rest in quiet, be prepared to give as you receive, to hold but what you give, and to receive the Word of God to take the place of all the foolish thoughts that ever were imagined. Now we come together to make well all that was sick and offer blessing where there was attack. Nor will we let this function be forgot, as every hour of the day slips by. Nor will we let this function be forgot, as every hour of the day slips by, remembering our function with this thought: when I am healed, I am not healed alone. And I would bless my brothers, for I would be healed with them as they are healed with me. So tell yourself that as the hour strikes today. When I am healed, I'm not healed alone, and I would bless my brothers, for I would be healed with them as they are healed with me. Okay, let's go take a look in our text reading, the purpose of the body, which is section 9 of chapter 18, the dream and the reality. And I want to begin in paragraph 73. We won't finish that section today, but let's back up and read a couple paragraphs that we read yesterday again. Yesterday, and as you're turning there, I'm sitting here underneath my Burbank plum tree. I wanted to tell you about the Wisconsin chief. We read about that yesterday. Well, they made reference in that about the Wisconsin 55. Let me read it to you too. I'm reading that one and another one, tomato, and these are out of the Seed Saver Exchange catalog. Bred at this Wisconsin 55, bred at the University of Wisconsin in 1946, which was about 11 years earlier than the Wisconsin Chief was developed. Excellent all-purpose tomato, great for canning, does best in rich soils, remembered as one of the best home and market tomatoes in the Madison, Wisconsin area, indeterminate, and it's an 80-day tomato. The other one I'd like to read to you is the Whitmore Heirloom tomato. The Whitmore is considered one of the best tasting tomatoes by Seed Savers Exchange staff. This variety offers complex and well-balanced flavor. The impressively large pink beefsteak tomatoes have large lobes and deep ribbing. Some fruits may have moderate cracking, but they are remarkably blemish-free with respect to their size, a whopping 1.5 to 2 pounds and nearly 5 to 6 inches in width. Edley Bellamy, a 6-inch tomato. Edley Bellamy of Virginia donated this seed to Seed Savers Exchange. Bellamy received the variety from Oscar Gibson in 1993, and it's a 70 to 80 day indeterminate tomato. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look in our text, starting in 73. Within this kingdom, the ego rules, and cruelly. And to defend this little speck of dust, it bids you fight against the universe. This fragment of your mind is such a tiny part of it that could you but appreciate the whole, you would see instantly that it is like the smallest sunbeam to the sun, or like the faintest ripple on the surface of the ocean. In its amazing arrogance, this tiny sunbeam has decided it is the sun. This almost imperceptible ripple hails itself as the ocean. Think how alone and frightened is this little thought, this infinitesimal small illusion, holding itself apart against the universe. Think how alone and frightened is this little thought, this infinitesimal illusion, holding itself apart against the universe. The sun becomes the sunbeam's enemy, which would devour it, and the ocean terrifies the little ripple and wants to swallow it. So here the sunbeam thinks it's apart from the sun. How silly. And the little ripple on the ocean thinks that it's apart from the ripple. Well, he's saying that's a good example of what we're doing when we think we're separate from God and that we can do our own thing. Yet neither sun nor ocean is even aware of all this strange and meaningless activity. They merely continue unaware that they are feared and hated by a tiny segment of themselves. Even that segment is not lost to them, for it could not survive apart from them. And what it thinks it is in no way changes its total dependence on them for its being. Its whole existence still remains in them. Without the sunbeam would be gone. The ripple without the ocean is inconceivable. Such is the strange position in which those in a world inhabited by bodies seem to be. Each body seems to house a separate mind, a disconnected thought living alone and in no way joined to the thought by which it was created. Each tiny fragment seems to be self-contained, needing each other for some things, but by no means totally dependent on their one creator for everything, and needing the whole to give them any meaning, for by themselves they do mean nothing, nor have they any life apart and by themselves. 76. That's where we actually quit reading yesterday, 76. Like to the sun and ocean, yourself continues, unmindful that this tiny part regard itself as you. It is not missing. It could not exist if it were separate, nor would the whole be whole without it. It is not a separate kingdom, ruled by an idea of separation from the rest, nor does a fence surround it, preventing it from joining with the rest and keeping it apart from its creator. This little aspect is no different from the whole, being continuous with it and at one with it. It leads no separate life because its life is the oneness in which its being was created. Do not accept this little fenced-off aspect of yourself. The sun and ocean are as nothing beside what you are. The sunbeam sparkles only in the sunlight, and the ripple dances as it rests upon the ocean, just like you dance as you rest in your oneness with everything, with God. Yet in neither sun nor ocean is the power that rests in you. Would you remain within your tiny kingdom, a sorry king, a better ruler, a bitter ruler of all that he surveys, who looks on nothing, yet who would still die to defend it? Would you remain within your tiny kingdom, a sorry king, a bitter ruler of all he surveys, who looks on nothing, yet who would still die to defend it? This little self is not your kingdom. Arched high above it and surrounding it with love is the glorious whole, which offers all its happiness and deep content to every part. The little aspect which you think you set apart is no exception. Love knows no bodies and reaches to everything created like itself. Love knows no bodies and reaches to everything created like itself. Its total lack of limit is its meaning. Its total lack of limit is its meaning. It is completely impartial in its giving. It is completely impartial in its giving, encompassing only to preserve and keep complete what it would give. In your tiny kingdom, you have so little. Should it not then be there that you would call on love to enter? Look at the desert, dry and unproductive, scorched and joyless, which makes up your little kingdom, and realize the life and joy which love would bring to it from where it comes and where it would return with you. So he's comparing love like rain in the desert. Love to your little dry, set alone sunbeam or ripple on the ocean. You need the water of love to make your dry land bloom, is the way you can maybe like to think about it. Paragraph 79. The thought of God surrounds your little kingdom, waiting at the barrier you built to come inside and shine upon the barren ground. See how life springs up everywhere. The desert becomes a garden, green and deep and quiet, offering rest to those who lost their way and wander in the dust. Give them a place of refuge, prepared by love for them where once a desert was. And everyone you welcome will bring love with him from heaven for you. They enter one by one into this holy place, but they will not depart as they had come alone. The love they brought with them will stay with them as it will stay with you. And under its beneficence, your little garden will expand and reach out to everyone who thirsts for living water, but has grown too weary to go on alone. Wow, he's really tying this together about how that we can offer this water of life to all our brothers and sisters, and that even though they've tired to go on alone, they find life in us who have found life, who have found this source, this connection with the all, with God, with one. That brings us back to our lesson for today. When I am healed, I'm not healed alone. And I would bless my brothers, for I would be healed with them as they are healed with me. Be sure to remind yourself that at least every hour today. Keep that in mind, and do your two 10-minute practice periods where you'll think about, when I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. and I would share my healing with the world, that sickness may be banished from the mind of God's one Son, who is my only self. Thank you all so much for joining me underneath the shade of my Luther Burbank plum tree. Until tomorrow, tell yourself often, when I am healed, I'm not healed alone. And I would bless my brothers, for I would be healed with them, as they are healed with me. When I am healed, I am not healed alone.